Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I am a woman on a mission to help you get the Zettelkasten of your dreams on your work table beside you. Well, we're going to take a break from pre-Zettelkasten. I hope all you pre-Zettelkasten folks are building up your collection of cards because very soon we're going to play with numbering. But today we're talking about the other end of the spectrum. When you are writing from your Zettelkasten into your Zettelkasten or alongside your Zettelkasten. 3 different approaches. So let me take first the one that I'm using. Most of you by now know that I'm writing a new book, Unlocking the Treasure, a Zettelkasten Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. My dear friend and copy editor, Jill, created the cover for me. I'm just thrilled with it. Well, the way I'm writing, and I've showed you a few examples from the process, I'm pulling cards out of Zeek because they were all over the place. I gathered them all into one work area. This whole area of this drawer are the cards that I've pulled for working with the book. From there, I sorted them into piles and clumps based on subject matter, and then subsorted the sections for the writing. The writing I did directly into a notebook by hand. I used to use yellow legal pads, and I was a big proponent of them. These are basically yellow legal pads. They're just prettier. And I can keep them in all my stuff in a notebook together. But I use them the same way I would use a yellow legal pad. I write everything out by hand, and then it goes into the computer, and then it gets edited. In this instance, I went straight from the cards to writing. And because the topics, the nature of a Zettelkasten is that you can't really talk about how the Zettelkasten functions without talking about several of the different physical components. So there are sections of the book where I'm drawing from several different areas. And then there are sections of the book where you're focused in on, well, how do you do a bib card? How do you do a main card? And so I had to use the same cards and shuffle them in different ways based on the section that I was writing. So that's one method of working with your Zettelkasten. I call that working from your Zettelkasten. So when I'm finished with all my work, the cards will be refiled back where they go. The second method I call writing into your Zettelkasten. This is a method that I learned from Scott Shepper, and it's very valid as well. The idea of writing into your Zettelkasten is that you declare a section in your Zettelkasten, either by category numbers or by foundation cards, either method works, and you basically lay out the structure of your book or your whatever project you're writing in your categories or your foundation cards, maybe by chapters, your table of contents, so that you declare areas in your Zettelkasten, and then you create cards that go into each area where basically you're writing your book onto cards, or maybe writing bullet points of what you're going to write in your book onto your cards. So in that case, when you're done, you've got a block of cards that represents your output project. That I call writing into your Zettelkasten, because you're creating new cards that will exist in your Zettelkasten as a block. I'm not as much of a fan of that method because those cards become frozen, and it becomes basically a clump of cards that you might look at them another time, but you're not going to put more new cards in unless you're planning a second edition of your book and you want to put things that you want to change or modify or grow, because basically that represents your book. To me, if I have a set of cards that represent a book, that I think of as being a bib card. And I would think of that as being basically a glorified bib section. But it's very valid and used and to very, very good effect. So I'm not going to put it down by any means. It's just not my preferred method of working. Then there's a completely third type. And I have Angel to thank for this. I was on a Zoom call with Angel today, who has a great interest in photography and sketching and other things artistic. And I also ran into this when I was working with Kayla. In both of these instances, the individuals have external art that is the thing that they want to represent into a Zettelkasten. So the creative output is in a form that won't fit in a Zettelkasten. So in this case, what I advised Kayla to do, which worked well, and I also advised Angela today, is to take a snapshot of your work. Now, certainly when you shrink it down to fit on a file card, you're not going to be able to read the words in Kayla's case or see the picture as well in Angel's case. But when you add a tagline to it, you will, and the visual of it, you'll recognize the full piece. And so I suggest that then that you number the pages in your sketchbook, or in Kayla's case, she was creating file folders with numbers that could be referenced like you would a bib card. So when you make the main card that captures the page, you'd put the file name on the card. So this is a totally third type of creative effort from your Zettelkasten, where perhaps what's happening in the Zettelkasten is a commemoration of what was created outside of the Zettelkasten. And inside of the Zettelkasten, the ideas take shape, and the ideas still get to communicate verbally through the taglines that are given to the representations of the art that exists outside of the Zettelkasten. I'm sure there are many other possibilities. In this week's Zettelkast episode, Deb Hart challenged us to share if we have used our Zettelkasten for recipes. And although I do have 4x6 recipe cards, my recipe file predates my Zettelkasten, and I don't really have them integrated, but I did share my recipe cards. Others might have them integrated, especially if you're interested in culinary matters and you want to have ideas about what's going on in the cooking methods and ideas and concepts, or maybe in nutrition and you've got nutritional concepts and ideas that you want to share as well. Anything where you have a mix of ideas, because the Zettelkasten is supreme for relating ideas to one another and sharing ideas and getting new ideas to spark. So keep the ideas in the Zettelkasten, reference the other works outside of the Zettelkasten. Well, I hope this helps, and put some comments or questions in the comments if you have a situation that's different that maybe you think that I could help you with, or you want to share a unique solution that you've come up with for how to handle creating out of, with, or alongside your Zettelkasten. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.